Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the next spinoff of Doctor Who, The Lady. Let us jump into specifics. After The Meddling Monk was a major failure in the eyes of the BBC, they wanted to launch another spin-off to keep going with the idea of Doctor Who and one spin-off constantly on air. The BBC was still very dead set on the idea of following a Time Lord character. Russell T Davies was almost on his way out, so he was simply recommending ideas for the incoming showrunner. Davies said that the show should not be about a known Time Lord because you're already in this fixed bubble of what the audience will expect. So make it about a new character, and make sure it's not just another doctor, and recommended that the character be an anti-hero, also as not to follow the villainous nature of the previous spin-off. He also recommended it be a woman to further differentiate. The BBC loved his ideas and asked him to run the show, with a total of 10 episodes given. He was against the idea but ultimately relented. He wanted the show to be as experimental as possible, so he wanted this to not only be an experiment on what the show was going to be about, but the behind the scenes as well. Due to the rising popularity in America with Doctor Who, Davies decided to employ well-known American sci-fi and horror writers to help write the show. Since Doctor Who was off limits for American writers for the time being, Davies felt a spin-off was fair game. So while difficult to make a writer's room of mainly American writers, he set his sights on writers that left an impact on American sci-fi media. Joe Hill wrote to the show during the Russell T Davies era, wanting to pen an episode, but the BBC denied him for being American. Russell T Davies liked his script, so he employed him as one of the main writers, along with Ronald D. Moore, who was finishing up his illustrious and critically acclaimed reboot of Battlestar Galactica. Other writers included Jeff Vandermeer, J. Michael Straczynski, and Grant Morrison. While Morrison was Scottish, their ideas were too out there for Doctor Who, so Davies decided to use them here, as well as writing for Doctor Who magazine in the 1980s. The BBC was extremely hesitant, but Davies would go on to say if the experiment failed, then they could just cancel the show. Davies fed his ideas to the writers' room, and they just went with it and created something to make the show seem unique from Doctor Who. The working title was simply The Lady, the name of our title, Time Lady, simply because they couldn't come up with anything better. They were also partially inspired by the Third Doctor era of staying in one location for the majority of the season. The main character of the Lady would be played by Naoko Mori. Her companions would be a brother and sister, Jem and Gemma, played by Lucian Laviscount and Anjali Mohindra, with their mother played by Anjoa Ando. The logo for the show would look something like this, and the theme tune would sound something like this. With this, the adventures of the Lady begins. The first episode is The Day the Lady Arrived, written by Joe Hill. The year 3000 is like any other. Humanity lives beneath the oceans as the surface has become inhospitable due to the wars and pollution. Living in domes beneath the surface, humanity is struggling to survive. For Jem and Gemma, life is a natural struggle. Living with their news reporter mother Annette, they are never safe while she intends to uncover corruption in their underwater home. When their mother is taken hostage by an underground mob ring, the twosome head in to investigate and rescue her, but find themselves in over their heads until a TARDIS in the shape of a Japanese onsen bathhouse crash lands in front of them, and the weirdest person they've ever seen stumbles out. With the help of the Time Lady, who has lost her memory and knows herself only as the Lady, the twosome rescue their mother from the mob ring. But what is the conflagration waiting for them? The second episode is The Tunnel Beneath the Ocean, written by Jeff Vandermeer. Annette is sent to investigate the rupturing of the Earth's surface, revealing a tunnel beneath the ocean. Humanity has never expanded this far down into the Earth, so what is down there waiting for them? An ancient creature, Cthulhu, has awoken. It is revealed that humanity has been here before, and that H.P. Lovecraft's books about Lovecraftian monsters were all true. Cthulhu and the Eldritch Horrors exist, and billions of years ago were imprisoned beneath the surface to allow humanity to inhabit the planet. They allowed Lovecraft to survive and leave their presence as long as he wrote about them to the world, to warn the world of their coming, so that humanity would be ready to accept its demise in the future. Even the Doctor, in all his years in the universe, chose not to get involved, but the Lady Cthulhu knows the lady. She is his jailer, and he wants his freedom at whatever the cost. The third episode is The Deep Down Dark Deep Down, written by Grant Morrison. Cthulhu is now known to humanity, who are terrified of what else could exist below them. This changes everything they know about the world, especially when Cthulhu, now being investigated in a research station in the trench, reveals that there's no such thing as natural disasters. Every tsunami and volcanic eruption in the world has been caused by one of the eldritch horrors trying to break through to the surface of the world. With the lady also known, the government of humanity put out a warrant for her arrest, forcing her and Jem and Gemma to stealthily move throughout the episode to discover more information. By stealing their mother's research notes, Gemma discovers one important fact. Though Cthulhu is talking to them, there are worse creatures out there than him. He is not the leader of the horrors. The fourth episode is The Bottom of the Trench, written by Ronald D. Moore. The research outpost in the trench has done it. At last, humanity has reached the bottom of the trench. Sent in exchange for the warrant for her arrest being cancelled to the bottom of the trench with Annette, Gemma, and Gemma, the lady discovers one horrible truth. The bottom of the trench is a lie. Is it the bottom of the trench? Yes. But is it the bottom of the ocean? No. When the newly established research post at the bottom of the ocean is destroyed by something larger and much more dangerous than Cthulhu, the lady will have to find a way to summon her broken TARDIS, which she cannot control, to the bottom of the ocean to save herself and the others. The fifth episode is The Precipice, written by Ronald D. Moore. Just what is below the trench in which Cthulhu is contained? In an uncontrollable TARDIS and plunging into the precipice at the edge of the trench, the TARDIS quartet are about to find out. Hiding below, even worse than Cthulhu, is Yog-Sothoth. Even Cthulhu, powerful though he is, will not dare cross Yog-Sothoth. With the TARDIS failing by the second and the lady working frantically to repair it, Jem and Gemma have to steal a submarine from inside the TARDIS and venture out into the deep to retrieve minerals from the seabed for the lady to use to repower her TARDIS and allow them to escape. But with Yog-Sothoth everywhere and on the hunt, this is not a safe mission. The sixth episode is Berkeley Square, written by J. Michael Straczynski. There are numerous legends about a haunted second floor of number 50 Berkeley Square, and with the eldritch terrors now known of, the lady has her suspicions. With Jem, the lady books a room into the recreated Berkeley Square in Dome number 11. At first, nothing seems to happen until Jem goes missing, with he and the lady only able to communicate by sound, trapped in two realities of Berkeley Square, with Jem being pursued by a large cephalopod creature from the legend, the nameless thing of Berkeley Square. With the help from the lady, Jem is able to find the correct wall portrait to return back to the main universe and keep the nameless thing trapped. Though Jem escapes back to our world, he and the lady discover one important fact. Some of the eldritch horrors, such as the nameless thing, never actually enter our world at all. People die of fright at the sight of them projecting themselves into this world in order to find a way to cross over fully. The seventh episode is The Thing from Beyond the Universe, written by Joe Hill. Azathoth has awoken. The warning from Cthulhu comes just in time, for the universe ruptures, revealing Azathoth, creator of the universe. Humans are an aberration who, in his eyes, must be destroyed, and so he does. Humanity explodes, disintegrating into dust, with only Jem and Gemma left, protected by the lady's TARDIS. Distraught and with the lady unknowing of how to save the day, all looks lost, until Gemma discovers a diary in the lady's TARDIS. Merely 2 sentences are written on it. The TARDIS is the key. Launch it into Azathoth's eye. Cthulhu and the eldritch horrors were imprisoned because of the lady, who used her TARDIS to bind them all for all of time, and then erased her own memory so that no one could find it. The diary was the only clue, a failsafe just in case things went wrong. Launching her TARDIS into the eye of Azathoth, which Jem and Gemma turning into dust as soon as they leave her TARDIS, the lady watches time reform around her, the eldritch horrors becoming just imaginations of H.P. Lovecraft's mind, rather than anything that is real. The universe is saved. Or is it? The episode ends with the nameless thing of Berkeley Square briefly appearing in a portrait to an unsuspecting guest in room 50 of Berkeley Square, who dies of horror. Meanwhile, the lady's TARDIS materializes before her, restored to her. The 8th episode is Space Babies, written by Russell T. Davies, identical to the 2024 Doctor Who episode of the same name. Now with a working TARDIS, the lady takes Jem and Gemma on their first trip in time, and the episode continues the same way, only with some conflict at the end between Jem agreeing with the lady that the boogeyman has to survive, and Gemma agreeing with Nan E that the creature has to be launched into space. The 9th episode is Dome 13, written by Ronald D. Moore. It is a well-known fact that humanity lives in 12 enormous domes beneath the surface, united under one flag and one government. So why did Jem and Gemma wake up one morning to find a 13th dome that has apparently always been there? Everyone except for the lady remembers the dome, remembers it being created, existing, visiting. Just what is Dome 13, and why, despite everyone having vivid memories of visiting, does no one go there? What's inside? The the lady has to know. With Gemma absent, working with her mother on the report on the Eldritch Horrors, the lady and Jem materialize her TARDIS inside Dome 13. Soylent Green is people? No, Dome 13 is people. A human factory farm. All the lost and dispossessed are sent here to the dome hidden from everyone's eye to feed all of humanity below the ocean. The 10th episode is The Tree of Life, written by Joe Hill. Trapped in Dome 13, Jem and the lady discover the truth inside the truth. Dome 13 is not turning people into food for people, but into fertilizer to keep the Tree of Life, which allows humanity to exist, to thrive. Everything comes to a head. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Tree of Life is actually a leftover tentacle of Azathoth, and feeding it allows Eldritch Horrors to survive behind the scenes. But without Azathoth, humanity cannot exist. To stop the Eldritch Horrors for good, humanity will have to die. Finally, the lady comes up with a solution. She travels back in time and uses her TARDIS to destroy Azathoth before he can create humanity, creating them in his place. Materializing back on Earth, Gemma reveals that a map arrived in the post while the lady was gone. The trio open it. Thus ends the first series of The Lady. It received quite a lot of acclaim, as opposed to the previous spin-off, and the audience loved the more adult themes, surrealist ideas, and intriguing ongoing storyline. Despite this, for Series 2, BBC asked the incumbent showrunner, John Dorney, to tune it down a bit. He would do so and would tell the writers' room. Joe Hill and Ronald D. Moore ultimately decided that they should go back into Doctor Who history for this one, and were going to do another Key to Time arc with references to older stories. Ultimately, the main villains would be the White Guardian and the Black Guardian, the former of which would be played by Ian McKellen, the latter of which will be revealed later. However, little else would change. Even the title sequence and logo wouldn't change despite a different showrunner. However, a couple new guest writers would be writing for the show, like Chris Claremont, Alex Garland, and Michael Angeli. Moore felt he owed it to Angeli, who helped him majorly with his start, to come in and write for the show. Series 2 continued with the same cast and continued on from the cliffhanger ending of Series 1. The first episode is The Start of the Mission, written by Joe Hill. The lady, Jem, and Gemma are on the planet Chimolaria on the trail for 4 elemental keys. A flashback reveals that the map was sent to them by the White Guardian, who requires the 4 elemental keys, since the Doctor scattered the key to time and has never revealed where it is, to put the universe back in balance. To that end, he has recruited the 3 of them to explore the universe and find them, but of course the Black Guardian will not be far behind them. After being captured by the Kimberly Bomberleys, a relative of the Dravins, for the Doctor's crimes in the events of Galaxy 4, they barely escape with their lives by blowing up a generator on the planet. The second episode is The Second Clue, written by Joe Hill. Having escaped from Kimloria from the Kimberly Bomberleys, the map reveals to the TARDIS trio that a second clue is buried deep within the lady's TARDIS. Unfortunately for them, the TARDIS has been hijacked by the Black Guardian and is trying to kill them. The episode is very much like The Doctor's Wife in that it features Jem, Gemma, and the lady all trapped in the TARDIS fighting for their lives. The episode ends when the lady reverse engineers the black hole in her TARDIS for merely a few seconds to release her TARDIS from the grip of the Black Guardian. At the same time, the black hole throws out a sheet of parchment on which one word is written: Anamos, the Greek word for wind. The third episode is The Gust Key, written by Ronald D. Moore. The lady's TARDIS materializes in ancient Greece. While the lady, Jem, and Gemma explore for the key, Jem and Gemma are kidnapped and put into service for Alexander the Great. It's 363 BC, and he's going to die soon. In their time in service, Jem discovers the Gust Key, a necklace around Alexander's neck. While the lady works to stop the Black Guardian's servant, a servant of Alexander the Great, from changing history, Jem and Gemma watch Alexander the Great ride into battle, where he is mortally wounded. On his deathbed, Jem and Gemma steal the necklace and flee, with the lady being chased by angry soldiers. The fourth episode is Water on the Window, written by Michael Angeli. Episode 4 begins with the TARDIS materializing in an old abandoned house, in which 4 inhabitants, Edgar, Thaddeus, Joan, and Belinda, are all trapped. The house requires souls to survive and is trapped in eternal night in the middle of a rainstorm. It will only allow time to move on when its need for souls has been sated. One by one, the inhabitants are picked off by 2 green ghosts. When Jem is picked off, the truth, at least to him, becomes clear. The ghosts are fake. They are actually a family protecting their daughter. She is allergic to sunlight and will die if the time moves on, hence the same rain stopping and starting on the windows of the house, so they lure souls to the house and kill them to drain their life force and keep the house in perpetual darkness. With the help of Gemma, the lady discovers how to rescue Jem and agrees to transport the daughter and her parents to a planet of perpetual darkness so that they don't have to keep stealing souls. As they step out of the house and into the TARDIS, the house collapses behind them, leaving behind another slip of parchment with one word: third, Voltaire. The fifth episode is The Lightning Key, written by J. Michael Straczynski. The planet Voltaire is a desolate wasteland trapped in perpetual winter, soldiers frozen in time, huge metal structures looming and imposing, but getting into the forge on Voltaire isn't the problem. The Doctor and Romana have done that before. The problem isn't even getting out. The problem is getting out alive. Only two people, the Doctor and Romana, have managed it. Unfortunately for the Lady Gem and Gemma, neither of them are here. Investigating the forge, the Lady Gem and Gemma are forced to confront their deepest fears and greatest desires and overcome them to win their freedom. In doing so, they win a prize, the Lightning Key hidden deep within the forge. The sixth episode is The Day That Stopped Forever, written by Russell T. Davies. Not much to say about this episode. It is the Sarah Jane Adventures episode, The Empty Planet, only with Gem and Gemma back on Earth in the year 3000. And since they're related, the comments about Clyde and Ronnie having to repopulate the planet are removed. The only difference is that at the end of the episode, along with knighting Gem and Gemma, Gavin gives them a parchment with the location of the third key on it, Shamala. The seventh episode is The Terrarian Key, written by Alex Garland. The TARDIS materializes on the planet Shamala, a peaceful place full of rainbows and butterflies and other sickeningly sweet things. Stepping out, the TARDIS trio discover that the planet has changed. The butterflies and the deer, now evolved to be half human, are at war, both believing that they should be the owners of the sacred terrarium, which the lady and her companions discover actually is the third key, the Terrarian Key. The war has begun because the surface world is running out of habitable space, and both believe they are the best ones to sort out the situation. With Gem and the lady on one side and Gemma undercover on the other, the trio have to devise a way to stop the war and obtain the Terrarian Key. They discover one. Hidden beneath the surface are vast hidden cities that everyone can live in peacefully. Ending the war, the butterflies and deer head to safety underground, while the lady creates a fake Terrarian Key to leave behind with them. The eighth episode is The Bubbles in the Lake, written by Ronald D. Moore. They come at night, the bubbles in the lake, then the monster, or so the legend says. Loch Ness, 2018. The TARDIS materializes and the trio find themselves sucked into an adventure concerning the apparent appearance of the Loch Ness monster, which is apparently rampaging around at night, killing the inhabitants of the loch. Trapped in Castle McDougal with Dougal McDougal, the trio discover a hidden laboratory under the castle and that the groundskeeper has discovered the existence of the Loch Ness monster and is scaring away / murdering everyone as to be able to drive down the value of the land so that he can buy it and profit from the Loch Ness monster tourism money. When the actual monster shows up and eats him, resolving the situation, he drops a piece of parchment with the name of the final planet on it, Obligazion. The ninth episode is The Penultimate Step, written by Chris Claremont. The planet Obligazion. Everyone knows the stories. Time Lords are brought up in the nursery on them. Even Omega himself feared the planet. Once the planet gets its claws in you, you belong to it. Not even Time Lords can resist. Landing, the TARDIS trio find themselves separated and tested, having to work together while becoming increasingly distrustful to one another due to the planet's influence to unlock passage into the bowels of the planet to find the last key. The 10th episode is The Flaming Lock, written by Jeff Vandermeer. Deep within the planet Obligazion, the trio find a door made entirely of fire. To unlock it, each must pass through the fire and give up something or learn a truth they do not know, a sacrifice to open the door. The lady passes through, learning when she will regenerate, though we do not see or hear what she learns. Gem passes through it and loses an arm. Gemma passes through and learns that she will be successful in being a reporter like her mother, but it will cost Annette her life. With the final key in hand, the lady is confronted by the White and Black Guardians, the latter of which is played by Donald Sutherland, who each pitch their case to her. The White Guardian will restore balance to the universe. The Black Guardian will create chaos. The lady gives the 4 keys to the Black Guardian. For the White Guardian's idea of balance is the universe stagnating, everyone thinking the same way, everyone never growing or changing, while the Black Guardian's idea of chaos is people suffering wars, famine, death, exactly what free will is. Chaos. It may not be right or perfect, but it's free will, free choice, what every being in the universe should have. In exchange with the White Guardian vanishing in rage and lamenting that he should have chosen the Doctor for this quest, the Black Guardian returns the trio to the TARDIS, releases them from the grip of the planet, and gives Gem a robotic metal arm. With their mission over, the TARDIS trio leave. Then finally, in a mid-credit scene, the Black Guardian scatters the keys throughout the universe, then returns to his lair, sits down on his throne, and begins to read from a scroll. He smiles nastily over the top of it, straight down the camera. He knows something we don't. When the lady will die, and he cackles evilly. The second series was once again positively praised. While the writers were worried that holding back would result in a worse series, many loved it because it was so different from the first series, showcasing a different outlook on the key to time, but also showcasing a respect and love for Doctor Who's history. Many were excited on how the series would continue. But that is it for our next Doctor Who spinoff with The Lady. Stay tuned, as the next video in the series will be covering the next 2 seasons of Doctor Who with the 12th Doctor at the helm. See you then.